Hey guys, Emily here, your Harvest Market dietitian. Today we are going to make a spring pasta primavera. Okay, so the best part about this dish is that it is a one-pot dish. So we are set up right here with all of our ingredients ready. The other thing is super adaptable. So use what you like, use what you've got at home already. A lot of this stuff are gonna be from your pantry or your freezer, so you can really use what you have here. So first things first, I have my pan heating just over about medium. We're gonna cook some shrimp first. So shrimp is my protein of choice for this dish. You can use any protein that you like if you're not a fan of shrimp or you don't have any. You can use chicken in this. You can even use a can of beans if you like that. So I'm going to add just a little bit of olive oil to our pan here. Again, just over medium heat, nothing too aggressive for this shrimp. So the shrimp I'm using is a frozen, then thawed, raw shrimp. It is an Argentinian red shrimp. One of the biggest things, you don't have to buy this type of shrimp, but I do recommend buying a shrimp that is raw rather than cooked. And the reason for that is, first of all, if it's already cooked, it's not going to be able to absorb many flavors as we're cooking the dish. And the other thing is, usually when we're cooking cooked shrimp again, it's going to get really rubbery. And that's where you get that kind of nasty rubbery texture from shrimp. So again, just use the frozen raw stuff. The way that we're going to thaw this, really easy. Empty it out into a bowl, and then we're going to run that under some cold water. You're gonna fill that bowl up with cold water. Let the water run, so there's kind of just a small dribble along the side, so those shrimp can kind of be moving a little bit, and your shrimp will be fully thawed in about 8 to 10 minutes. So it really doesn't take long at all. And the reason why we wanna do it that way is because we want to, again, retain the really good texture of shrimp. It takes very little for a shrimp to become really rubbery. And so we want to use cold water and thaw it slowly so that our shrimp will have a beautiful kind of almost lobster-like texture. So I'm gonna turn up the heat up a little here. I just added a little bit of salt and pepper to our pan. So this is what we're looking like. Your shrimp will start to become opaque in color. It will start to kind of curl back up on itself, and that's how you know it's beginning to cook. Again, it doesn't need super aggressive heat. Shrimp is very delicate, so be careful with it. We're just gonna kind of move it around so it doesn't get stuck to your pan. I'm using a non-stick pan for this. I like to use a non-stick pan, not a non-stick pan, excuse me. So this is like a stainless steel pan right here. I like to get those little bits that get stuck on the bottom. That's flavor. That builds our flavor up. And really, we use non-stick pans for things like cooking eggs or omelets or pancakes. Stuff like this, we want some stick on the bottom so we can develop those really good flavor pieces, those brown bits. All right, couple tosses here. This is just gonna be like a minute longer, not too much longer. In the meantime, we're gonna prep the rest of our veggies that are gonna go in this. So I looked through my fridge and I saw what I had, and that's what I'm using today. I picked up a few extra things, but not much. I had a half of a yellow onion, so I'm going to just kind of cut this into some thin slices and get this prepped. We will be taking the shrimp out of the pan because we don't want them to continue to cook. So again, just really nice thin slices. I'm just doing half an onion. I'm making a smaller batch today, so this is good for maybe 2 people, 3 people. You can obviously double it if you are feeding more mouths or if you want leftovers. Beautiful, this is smelling so good. Okay, so we have our onion right here. I want to talk about garlic for a second. So one of the best things in cooking your own dishes is that you can have total control of all of the ingredients in there. And one of those really important ingredients to me in good cooking is fresh garlic. That's one of the simplest things that you can do to kind of amplify the flavor of your dish. So this is fresh garlic. How you get it open, so it's covered in the peel, so picking out garlic first and foremost, it should be nice and tightly closed. There should be no like brown spots or dark spots. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this kind of nubbin that's sticking out on the top, and just give it a twist. And then it'll pull out just like that, and that will separate these cloves so you can then open it like this. And then you have your fresh garlic cloves. Okay, another thing that I want to just note here are these little green guys that are sticking out right here. So this is totally fine. This is just a little germ sprouting from a garlic clove. They are totally edible. Some folks say they are slightly bitter, so you can remove those, but don't throw away your entire garlic clove because these little green guys are sticking out. They're perfectly fine to eat. They're perfectly safe, so don't throw it away. All right, shrimp is done. Remember, we're gonna be adding this back to the dish, so even if they're not completely done, they're gonna continue to keep cooking. They're gonna retain that heat from the pan. So we're gonna just transfer this onto a plate. You can transfer it to a bowl. All right, so then we have all of that beautiful brown deliciousness stuck to the bottom of our pan. That's all flavor right there. Okay, so into the pan, we're gonna add a little bit more garlic. We need some more moisture in here. So I'm just using olive oil. Use whatever oil you like, whatever you have. So we're gonna add in this sliced onion right to the pan. Beautiful. Switch out spoons, there we go. Lovely, so kind of stir that all in, break up those pieces. Looking good already. Yum. Okay, so now we're gonna do some of our fresh garlic. This is how I like to prepare my cloves. Give it a good smash. Don't be afraid. All right, peel away that clove right here, or that peel. We're gonna give it a nice mince. So holding your knife properly, remember you wanna pinch it right here. And then I'm gonna place one hand right here on this curved piece and do kind of that rocking back and forth, keeping the tip of my knife on my cutting board at all times, gathering it all up and doing it again. So we're gonna get a nice fine mince here. If you wanna use a garlic press or something like that, a tool to help you chop, that's totally fine. Personally, I like to chop and it hones my knife skills when I practice. So I don't mind chopping my own garlic. Plus it gives me time to let my onion kind of do its thing, get sauteed and really yummy and fragrant. So we're just looking for, again, a medium heat, nothing too aggressive. We just want to slightly soften that onion, get it browned a little bit. And you can totally add in your garlic from here. A lot of folks will tell me that, you know, whenever I add my garlic, it always burns. And really, you know, my thoughts are the pan is probably just a little bit too hot. So all you have to do is turn down that pan a little bit so your garlic itself doesn't burn. All right, give it a little toss. That's looking so good. So I'm gonna turn it down a little bit here because we are looking like we have a really good heat going on. And again, I don't want anything to burn. We're not in that big of a rush, and plus everything comes together pretty quickly in this. All right, so I told you that this was a spring pasta primavera, so we're gonna really use some spring flavors in this dish. So I have some asparagus. Love asparagus. Asparagus, when it's good, when it's in season, especially right now, you can eat this stuff raw. It is so delicious. It's crunchy, it's tender, it's sweet. So it really doesn't need to be cooked that long at all. So I'm going to toss it in. Really think of this dish as like an Italian style stir fry. That's essentially what it is. So all of this stuff is pretty quick cooking. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut just like the very bottom inch off, just like underneath this rubber band here. You can go through every single stalk and see where it breaks and all that nonsense, but that takes too long and I'm impatient. So I'm just gonna chop off the bottom like inch. I'm gonna save this. Who knows when I'll need it, right? And then we're just gonna cut these into small pieces. Again, this is gonna be a pasta dish, so I want it to be easy to eat. So I'm gonna cut things into smaller pieces. And these are beautiful. And really it doesn't matter if your asparagus is thick or thin. I like the thinner asparagus for something like this because it's easier to eat, right? So when you're looking for asparagus, make sure that you're looking at the tips. So these tips, they should be nice. These little buds right here should be closed tightly together. They should be dry, and they shouldn't smell at all. So a bad bunch of asparagus will kind of smell almost like rotting fish. It's really, really gross. You'll know right away if it's bad. And the tip will have some moisture. So put that away, maybe get something else. But these are fabulous. All right, this is looking really, really good. I'm gonna season a little bit here. So remember to season early and often in your cooking, not just at the beginning, not just at the end, but all throughout. So I'm gonna use some of my Cavender's Greek seasoning. I love this stuff, use it all the time. Anytime I'm doing any Italian cooking, this goes in it. It is like an all-purpose seasoned salt with some Italian flavors. So I'm gonna put this in here. It has salt and pepper already in it. So it's like a 3-for-1 deal right there. Give it a toss. Beautiful. All right, some other things that we're gonna add into this dish. So we have some frozen peas. Nothing says spring like peas. And these are great because they can be in your fridge. So I just set these out on the counter as soon as I started cooking. So it doesn't have to be perfectly thawed in order for you to use them. I'm just gonna use a little bit in here. Use as much as you like. I got probably about a half a cup there. Excellent, stir this right in. This is smelling really, really good already. Again, the ingredients that I'm using today, don't feel like you have to use these exact ones. If you've got zucchini, if you've got mushrooms, use what you like and what you have already. I'm gonna put in some canned sweet corn. This is great. I always have a can of corn in my pantry, so I'm gonna use, again, probably about a half a cup of that. Stir that in. This is gonna be a really light and veggie heavy pasta dish. So we're gonna have a lot more veggies compared to pasta. Remember thinking back to like a My Plate guideline, the grains are about 1/4 of our plate, while fruits and vegetables take up about half of our plate. So whenever I'm preparing a meal, I usually make sure that the fruit or veggie is kind of front and center, because that should be taking up the majority of our plate there. This is looking really, really good. Again, doesn't take long to cook. Asparagus shouldn't be cooked for that long. I like mine to still have some crunch to it. Peas already cooked, they just have to heat through. So this is looking fabulous. What I'm gonna do here, ooh, getting off center there a little bit. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn up the heat a little bit. I'm going to add some liquid to our pan. If you can see in our pan, the bottom here, we've got some beautiful brown stuff happening. And that is on purpose, okay? So that is flavor stuck to the bottom of our pan. In order to lift off that stuff, we have to add a liquid. That's called deglazing the pan. So anytime you add cold liquid to a hot pan, it kind of gets really nice and steamy and sizzles, and that lifts up all of those beautiful brown bits. So you can use chicken broth, you can use veggie broth, you can use wine. I like to use vinegar because it kind of does both things. So when people use wine for a dish, because they want to impart some flavor, they want to impart some acid. So I'm gonna use some white balsamic vinegar. I like this because it's kind of light, it's kind of fruity, and it really has a beautiful color, so it's not going to make the rest of our dish pink, like if we were to use a red wine vinegar. You can use a white wine vinegar if you like, but I just like the kind of fruitiness and sweetness of this. Smells good. All right. Hear that sizzle? That's what we want. If you add it and you don't hear a sizzle, turn up the heat just a little bit. Beautiful. So we're gonna take a wooden spatula, a wooden spoon, and just kind of scrape up those brown bits so we can lift them off the bottom and into our food right here. Excellent. So again, like I said, it's gonna be a really light dish. We're not gonna do any heavy sauce here. That's gonna be part of our sauce. The other thing that we're going to add here is a can of diced tomatoes. So these are not drained because, again, this is gonna act as our sauce. So I chose a kind with the basil, garlic, and oregano because I'm going for like an Italian thing here. Again, use what you have. If you just have plain, no worries at all. We're gonna dump that all right in. Give it a stir. Beautiful. It's looking good already, if I do say so. Yum. All right, so at this point in time, we can add back in the shrimp. All in, lovely. Give her a toss. Looking good, guys. All right, so we're gonna let that simmer for just a minute to make sure that our shrimp is fully cooked. The pasta that I chose to use today is what I had in my pantry. This is it's a linguine shape. Again, use whatever shape you like. If you have bow tie or elbow, it doesn't matter. This is actually a corn and quinoa pasta. So it's made from corn and quinoa. It is a whole grain pasta. So whenever I'm trying to work with pastas, I try to use whole grains as much as possible just to get some more fiber and minerals in there. You don't have to use this. Again, use a regular pasta if that's what you have. I like this though because it's something different, and it also happens to be gluten-free, so if someone in your household can't tolerate gluten, this is a good option for you guys. So I already cooked this. It's in my pot over here. I like to cook it just according to package directions and then drain it, toss it with a little bit of olive oil so it doesn't stick together. And then it's ready to go when I am, because we're just gonna toss it all in here when it's all said and done. Look at how colorful this is. Whenever I'm making a dish, I like to make sure I represent a good amount of colors. So we've got green, we've got yellow, we've got red. It's just absolutely beautiful in here. If you wanted to go even more Italian style, you could do some eggplant in here for some of that purple or red. Lovely. So we're gonna turn down the heat. And one last thing that I'm gonna add in here, I'm just gonna hand tear some spinach. I like a little greenery in here, a little more greenery. It is a spring dish, so it's okay if we use a lot of greens. Not a lot in here, just a little bit. You can also use an arugula or like a baby kale, something like that. I'm just going to tear this up with my hands because it's gonna wilt significantly when we put it in here. All right, so again, I actually turned off the heat completely. When I add my spinach to a dish like this, I'm gonna do it at the very end so that the heat of the dish will work to wilt the spinach. Otherwise, it is going to be a mushy mess. I like some texture still left to my spinach when I eat it. So I'm just gonna let that gentle heat work to wilt that spinach a little bit. Lovely. Looking good. Okay. Now to this, few finishing touches. I like a little fresh lemon juice right in here. And we're also gonna do some Parmesan cheese. So this is what I have in my fridge. It is it's like the big shavings of Parmesan cheese. Use the shredded, use whatever you have in your fridge. If you don't have Parmesan, you can use like a Mott's, you can use an Asiago or a Romano. I love a good stinky cheese, so that's what I'm gonna put in here. I usually always have a Parmesan, so that's what I'm gonna use. Just fold that right in. I'm gonna save some for the top as well to put that on top. Beautiful. All right, I'm gonna clean myself up so we can get this plated and ready to go. All right, so our spring pasta primavera is done right here. I'm gonna go ahead and add in that cooked pasta that I cooked previously. Just add it right in here. I'm gonna give it a toss. Ooh. Beautiful, mix it all in. Lovely. All right, let's get this plated. So I like to serve it on a big platter like this, or you can serve it in individual bowls if you want to, however you want to present this. I like to make sure that I add in some of that extra cheese on top. Beautiful. this is looking really, really good. All right, I think that's about all I can fit on my plate right here. All right, so on here, again, we're gonna add some of that shaved Parmesan cheese. Again, it doesn't have to be shaved. It can be shredded or any cheese that you like. I have some just Italian parsley, some flat leaf Italian parsley. I'm gonna give this a chop and add this right on. Beautiful. Lovely, and then I like to add one more little squirt of lemon juice right on top. So guys, this is our spring Pasta Primavera with shrimp. Remember, it's totally versatile, totally adaptable, so make it with what you like and what you've got. Thanks so much for cooking with me today. Don't forget to check us out on social media, Facebook, check out my Instagram page and our website for more. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time.